Is a slightly used Porsche Cayenne a better buy than a brand new Porsche Macan, and what are the key differences you need to know about? I've done some heavy calculations you'll want to see that show these machines are surprisingly close in a lot of metrics, but actually surprisingly far apart on a few others, so let me show you what those are, their effect on your pocketbook, and along the way, I'll be popping in from the archives with a look at what I was saying during earlier test drives of these machines, mostly while tackling some pretty serious winter driving in Northern Ontario. So which is wisest for your dollars, a brand new Macan or a slightly used Cayenne? So the Macan arrived a decade ago to take a place as the smaller brother to the Cayenne and thereby doubled the number of Porsche SUV models to 2. Pricing up on your screen, but given the spread of performance levels and price points for the 2024 Macan, I've chosen a hypothetical $80,000 spending limit for this video. The Macan is the smaller of 2 SUVs and a machine that you might well be considering spending that sort of money on. Add in a quality set of winter tires and you're looking at one of my very favorite winter driving machines after 20 years of testing cars in the snow. But is that money better spent on maybe a slightly used Porsche Cayenne, the big brother to the Macan? And if you go that route, how do the fuel costs, cargo space, and passenger comfort measures stack up? There are a few surprises. Before taxes and fees, your 80,000 Canadian dollars would get you into a nicely equipped Macan T with a wheel, interior, or seating upgrade, or an entry spec Macan S with 114 more horsepower and a few bucks left over for accessories. The Macan is a personal favorite of mine when it comes to sporting bang for the buck, alongside a drive that's agile but forgiving, on the very rough roads and back roads of Sudbury, Ontario, where I do most of my driving. Northern drivers take note with a quality set of winter tires. This is a winter driving machine with some exceptional skill sets and some exceptional reflexes. In the footage I'm showing you of this navy blue Macan, we're running on a set of Michelin Pilot Albans. For the same $80,000, you might be wondering how things look in a used Porsche Cayenne instead. After all, a base model unit with no options starts around $83,000, so a lightly used Cayenne presents an opportunity to access a bigger and more capable take on the Porsche SUV at a higher equipment level. At that price, look for a 2 to 4-year-old Cayenne with some remaining factory warranty and options for extended coverage well beyond that price point, through a Porsche certified pre-owned or CPO purchase depending on your preferences. Models like the Cayenne S tend to fall well within our price limit at a few years old, though you'll find higher performing GTS models from earlier in this generation in our price range too. Put simply, much of this machine's best stuff is strutted when you drive it with intent. It feels better the harder you drive it, and little you can do ever makes it feel like it's out of its comfort zone. And that is how they've brought the Porsche sports car experience into this crossover. In 2024, the Porsche Macan is currently in its 10th year of production of the first generation machine. Today, the Macan benefits from a slew of year-over-year updates and refreshes applied since its original release back in 2014, the most recent of these coming for the 2022 model year. The Macan continues to be built in Leipzig, Germany. In 2024, the Cayenne is in the 7th year of its 3rd generation on sale. This 3rd and latest generation was launched initially for 2018 model year and offers both SUV and coupe body configurations. The first 2 generations of Cayenne were built in Leipzig, Germany, though the current machine is built in Bratislava, Slovakia. Of course, with a Porsche, we start the engine here on the left. The Macan's standard engine is a 2-liter turbo with 261 horsepower and 295 pounds of torque. Macan models with this engine have a combined fuel economy rating of 11 liters per 100 kilometers and require premium gas. So assuming you pay $1.65 for a liter and that you drive your Macan 25,000 kilometers per year, allow for an annual fuel bill of $4,500 or about $375 per month.
You can actually see the air intake system that is built into this front bumper and hood here. So we're pulling in air from the front bumper area. It's going to pass up through this opening in the front cowl for the hood. And you can see how that's sealed off there with this rubber seal on this particular shape of the hood here. And then there are these 2 passageways there for that air to flow through, where it moves into these two openings here, which seal against the airbox there. And so that is kind of a ram air Porsche Macan style, and that helps make sure this 2-liter engine is always breathing fresh, cool outside air, which helps it perform better.
With a 2.9-liter turbo V6, the more powerful Macan S and GTS models both have a combined fuel economy rating of 12.2 liters per 100 kilometers, so that's an annual fuel cost of $4,950. About $410 per month, a $35 monthly increase in fuel costs versus the base engine. Elsewhere around our $80,000 price range, engines in the used Cayenne you're considering will go one of two ways, turbocharged V6 or turbocharged V8. With V6 turbo, look for horsepower in the mid-300s and fuel economy around 11.5 liters per 100 kilometers. That's $4,740 per year, or $395 a month. So shoppers, take note, with the base engines equipped, the fuel consumption penalty of the larger Cayenne is minimal, and allow just an extra $20 per month for higher performing V6 models. That's a virtual tie with the fuel economy of the smaller Macan S and GTS. With the Cayenne GTS's twin-turbo V8, fuel consumption climbs to 14.2 liters per 100 kilometers. That's an annual fuel bill of $5,865, or $490 per month. Note that these figures are approximate and intended as a baseline for comparison. By the way, the Macan has a towing capacity of 2,000 kilograms or 4,409 pounds, with the Cayenne offering 3,500 kilograms or 7,716 pounds. That's a 1,500 kilogram advantage for the Cayenne, which amounts to 75% more towing capacity.
This is the sort of technology that can set off that spark in the brains of aspiring young car guys and car gals, and it's called adaptive air suspension, and it works under Cayenne's 4D chassis control umbrella. Basically, by controlling when and how much air is moved in and out of the shocks, the Cayenne's ride quality and ride height can be altered in just a moment and at the tap of a button, and it even self-levels to keep the body flat at all times, and that ties into the PASM, or Porsche Active Suspension Management System, which also reads and responds to the surface beneath and makes millisecond adjustments to optimize comfort or handling depending on the drive mode that you select. So in a second or two, you can lift this suspension up, slam it down, make it stiffer or softer, and all the while it works in the background to keep the body from bounding around, which of course makes you more comfortable and turns big bumps into little ones.
The Macan is 186.2 inches or 4,727 millimeters long. That's 7.5 inches or 190 millimeters shorter than the Porsche Cayenne, which comes in at 193.7 inches or 4,917 millimeters long. So that's a 4% advantage in overall length for the Cayenne. The Macan is 2.2 inches or 56 millimeters narrower than the Cayenne, a difference of about 3%. Ditto the wheelbase at 110.5 inches or 2,807 millimeters. The Macan's wheelbase is 3% shorter than the Cayenne's at 114 inches or 2,896 millimeters. That makes the Macan's wheelbase 3.5 inches or 89 millimeters longer. The Macan rides 63.9 inches or 1,621 millimeters tall, with the Cayenne measuring 66.8 inches or 1,697 millimeters tall instead. This means the Cayenne is nearly 3 inches or 76 millimeters taller, a 5% advantage. It is the Macan with superior ground clearance, however. With 7.5 inches or 191 millimeters, it bests the ground clearance in the Cayenne by nearly an inch. With all of its seats upright for use, the Macan has 17.2 cubic feet or 488 liters of cargo capacity, and in the Cayenne it's 27.2 cubic feet or 772 liters. With the second row folded, the Macan gulps back 52.9 cubic feet or 1,503 liters of your gear, while the Cayenne makes it 60.3 cubic feet or 1,707 liters. So the Porsche Cayenne offers 58% more seats up cargo capacity than the Macan, despite the major physical dimensions of these machines being separated by no more than 5%. On seats folded cargo capacity, the Cayenne's lead over the Macan drops to 14%. So while the Cayenne is a little larger than the Macan, the Cayenne's seats up cargo capacity is a lot larger than the Macan's. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button if you're just as surprised as I was. having to decide between this pair of machines is a nice problem to have. And if you've pored over this analysis a few times and still can't decide, let me leave you with a final thought. Be sure to consider your driving style. To me, the Cayenne shines more as a comfortable and relaxing all-surface cruiser that's particularly great for long-distance driving, while the Macan's smaller, livelier, and more compact feel connects more directly with my tastes for a machine that feels smaller and sharper. These two machines are separated by much more than their size and their specs, and each has a distinctive and individual character you'll feel as you drive. One of these is more likely to be your favorite than the other, so be sure to get well acquainted with both during some test drives. Bear in mind that fuel costs between comparable Macan and Cayenne models are close, so as you're shopping and considering budgets, remember that there's no major fuel cost advantage by opting for the smaller Macan. If you need the added space and capability, don't be shy. Comparable Cayenne models won't stress your fuel budget too badly, despite that 75% advantage in towing capacity.